following House bills in which it requests the concurrence of the Senate. House number 6323, an act creating one additional branch of the Regional Trial Court in the First Judicial Region to be stationed in the municipality of La Paz, province of Abra, appropriating funds therefore, amending for the purpose Section 14A, Batas Pambansa Bilang 129, otherwise known as the Judiciary Organization Act of 1980, as amended. And House number 6324, an act creating two additional branches of the Regional Trial Court in the 5th Judicial Region to be stationed in the municipalities of Daet and Labo, province of Camarines Norte, and appropriating funds therefore, amending for the purpose Section 14F of Batas Pambansa Bilang 129, otherwise known as the Judiciary Reorganization Act of 1980, as amended. House number 6325, an act creating 8 additional branches of the Regional Trial Court in the National Capital Region to be stationed in the city of Caloocan and appropriating funds therefore. Amending for the purpose Section 14D of Batas Pambansa Bilang 129, otherwise known as the Judiciary Reorganization Act of 1980 as amended. House number 6326, an act creating one additional branch of the Regional Trial Court in the 7th Judicial Region to be stationed in the municipality of Mualboal, province of Cebu, and appropriating funds therefore, amending for the purpose Section 15H of Batas Pambansa Bilang 129, otherwise known as the Judiciary Organization Act of 1980 as amended. House number 6327, and are creating two additional branches of the Regional Trial Court and 5 additional branches of the Municipal Trial Court in the cities in the 9th Judicial Region to be stationed in the province of Zamboanga del Norte and appropriating funds therefore, amending for the purpose Sections 14J and 29 of Batas Pambansa Bilang 129, otherwise known as the Judiciary Organization Act of 1980 as amended. House number 6328, and are creating one additional branch, the Regional Trial Court in the 6th Judicial Region to be stationed in the city of Victorias, province of Negros Occidental, and appropriating funds therefore, amending for the purpose Section 14G of Batas Pambansa Bilang 129, otherwise known as the Judiciary Organization Act of 1980 as amended. House number 6329, and are creating 4 additional branches of the Regional Trial Court in the 4th Judicial Region to be stationed in the municipalities of Rosario and San Juan, province of Batangas, and appropriating funds therefore, amending for the purpose Section 14E of Batas Pambansa Bilang 129, otherwise known as the Judiciary Organization Act of 1980, as amended, and House number 6330, and are creating 5 additional branches of the Regional Trial Court in the 6th Judicial Region to be stationed in the city of Cabangcalan, province of Negros Occidental, and appropriating funds therefore, amending for the purpose Section 14G, Batas Pambansa Bilang 129, otherwise known as the Judiciary Organization Act of 1980, as amended.
Refer to the committee on or committees on justice and human rights and finance.
House number 6498, an act increasing the bed capacity of the Nagilian District Hospital, the municipality of Nagilian, province of La Union, from 25 beds to 50 beds and appropriating funds therefore. And House number 6499, titled an act increasing the bed capacity of the Quirino Memorial Medical Center in Quezon City, Metro Manila, from 500 beds to 1,000 beds, upgrading its professional healthcare services and facilities, authorizing the increase of its medical personnel complement and appropriating funds therefore.
Refer to the committees on health, finance.
Bill on first reading, Senate number 1522, entitled An Act Providing for Provisional Licenses to Radio Stations with Pending Franchise Renewal Applications, amending for that purpose Section 1 of Act number 3846, otherwise known as an act providing for the regulation of radio stations and radio communications in the Philippine Islands and for other purposes, introduced by Senator Lapid.
Refer to the committees on public services and constitutional amendments.
Resolutions. PS Resolution number 399, resolution honoring the late communications luminary and former Secretary of the Department of Tourism, Ramon A. Jimenez Jr., for his remarkable contributions to Philippine tourism and advertising and communications industry, nation building, in our participative democracy, introduced by Senator Pangilinan.
To the committee on rules.
PS Resolution number 400, resolution directing the Senate Committees on Labor, Employment, and Human Resources Development and Civil Service Government Reorganization and Professional Regulation to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation with the intent of determining the compliance of employers with Republic Act number 11058 or an act strengthening compliance with occupational safety and health standards and providing penalties for violations thereof and other occupational safety and health measures implemented in the context of COVID-19 pandemic and the effectiveness of these standards and measures in responding to risks and hazards of the pandemic, introduced by Senator Lapid.
Refer to the committees on labor and civil service. There is a third additional reference.
Third additional reference of business bills on first reading, Senate number 1523, an act providing for mandatory insurance coverage and benefits and hazard pay for journalists, employees of media entities on field assignments, and freelance journalists and for other purposes, introduced by Senator De Lima.
To the Committees on Public Information and Ways and Means.
Senate number 1524, an act upholding and promoting campus journalism and press freedom, repealing for the purpose Republic Act number 7079, entitled An Act Providing for the Development and Promotion of Campus Journalism, penalizing violations against campus press freedom and for other purposes, introduced by Senator De Lima.
To the Committees on Higher Education and Public Information.
Senate number 1525, an act providing for a moratorium on rental payment and eviction during disasters and other emergencies, introduced by Senator Lapi.
Heard the Committees on Trade and Urban Planning.
Resolutions, PS Resolution number 401, resolution directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation into the reports of public funds being spent to pay and maintain online trolls to distort and manipulate online information in various social media platforms in order to influence public opinion and political outcomes, introduced by Senator De Lima.
Heard the Committee on Accountability of Public Office.
Yes, resolution number 402, resolution honoring the late Tourism Secretary Ramon Jimenez Jr. for his immeasurable contributions to Philippine advertising, his enduring legacy towards revolutionizing the Philippine tourism industry, and his lasting impact towards and Senator De Lima.
The Committee on Rules.
Mr. President.
Either.
Yes, Mr. President, today is a special day for one of our colleagues. It is the birthday of Senator Nancy Binay. May we greet her happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I'd like to greet Senator Nancy Binay.
Happy birthday, Nancy.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
Maraming salamat sa pagbati.
Happy birthday, Nancy!
Thank you.
So, thank you, everyone. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. And we're anticipating a blowout from Senator Nancy, of which I believe Pepito will be doing the cooking. He's the one cooking at their residence at the moment. But Mr. President, we have a very light agenda today. But before we take up agenda, there's just a change of referral of one of our bills. Mr. President, after conferring with the chairpersons of the concerned committee with the consent of the body, I move that Senate Bill number 41, One Town, One Doctor Scholarship Act, and Senate Bill number 751, Medical Scholarship Return Service Primary Care Act, and Senate Bill number 1487, an act ordaining a system to ensure available doctors in healthcare in the underserved and geographically disadvantaged areas by creating a medical scholarship and return service program for deserving students, be transferred to the Committee on Higher Education from the Committee on Health as primary committee. The Committee on Health will remain as the secondary committee. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none. So, approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, there's just a very simple resolution. With the permission of Senator Gordon, maybe we can just approve this quick, simple resolution honoring Secretary Jimenez, and then we'll recognize Senator Gordon for a privileged speech, Mr. President, with the permission of the body. This will only take a few minutes. Mr. President, with the
Objection,
permission-
you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, with the permission of the body, I move to consider Senate Resolution number 399, taking in consideration Senate Resolution number 402, and ask the Secretary to read the title of the measure, Mr. President.
Secretary will read the title of the measure.
Resolution honoring the late communications luminary and former Secretary of the Department of Tourism, Ramon A. Jimenez Jr., for his remarkable contributions to Philippine tourism, the advertising and communications industry, nation building, in our participative democracy.
Mr. President, may we recognize Senator Pangilinan to sponsor the measure, Mr. President.
Senator Francis Pangilinan is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Leader. Distinguished colleagues, magandang hapon sa kanilang lahat. Today, this representation wishes to honor Ramon Secretary Ramon J. Jimenez Jr. the man who put a fun Philippines on the world map. Nakasama po natin si Secretary Monjay sa Executive Department ng nakaraang administrasyon. Siya po bilang Tourism Secretary at ako naman po bilang Presidential Advisor on Food Security and Agricultural Modernization. Nang namatay o mamatay ang asawa po ni Ginoong Monjay na si Abby, ito ang madalas kong marinig sa kanya. And I quote, "We report to a collective consciousness that is a big part of what we can call our conscience. The little voice inside our head is actually a chorus composed of the good people in our lives, as they say, be good, we can see you. The good people in our lives are the same people we report to in our hearts and minds. We anticipate their approval and their blessing even when they are not around, because we worry almost automatically that whenever we do wrong, we are less deserving of their love and respect." Close quote. Sino ang gabay at konsensya natin sa ating mga ginagawa, lalo na sa public service? Sabi ni Monjay, yung munting tinig, yung chorus daw yun ng mga mahal natin sa buhay na nagsasabing, magpakabuti ka at nakikita ka namin o pinapanood ka namin. Sa puso't isip natin, nagre-report tayo sa mga taong pinangangalahagahan natin. Inaasam ang kanilang okay at good job kahit wala na sila. Kasi automatic na nag-aalala tayo na kung gumawa tayo ng mali, magiging hindi tayo karapat-dapat sa kanilang pagtingin, sa kanilang pagmamahal. Maraming golden nuggets of wisdom si Secretary Monjay, pero isa ito sa mga tumatak sa akin, lalo na nang mawala na rin ang aking ama noong Enero 2016. Tama si Monjay, yung mga mahal natin sa buhay, sila ang check natin, ika nga, kumbaga sa branches of government. Ang mga ginintoang aral ni Secmon, malinaw at matalas, nakaangkla sa demokrasya sa boses ng maliliit. During the social media boom in the early 2010, after 2010, particularly of micro-blogging site Twitter, the words fun and the Philippines were frequently seen tweeted together. Sec Monjay took advantage of this social media insight, and 8 years ago, on January 6, 2012, the quote-unquote "It's More Fun in the Philippines" tourism campaign was launched. As many or fondly call him the Yoda of advertising, Sec Monjay described the campaign as one that is people-powered. True enough, after a few hours, the slogan became a meme that thousands of Filipinos started personalizing in various social media platforms. Many laughed, remembering fun memories and outdoing each other, trying to prove which Filipino experience was more fun. Eventually, it became viral all over the world, showing how indeed it is more fun in the Philippines. Sikat na sikat ang kampanya kasi yun ang puso ng sa bawat Pilipino, masayahin. And it brought about the unprecedented achievements for the Philippine tourism industry, almost doubling tourism arrivals and revenue, and creating the jobs and businesses we are now trying to save in this time of the COVID pandemic. Secretary Monjay's leadership imbued Philippine tourism with a lasting strategic direction. Ang layo na narating natin bilang Pilipino dahil napakasimple at napaka-eleganteng kampanya tungkol sa kung sino tayo. Sec Monjay was also a mentor to countless young talents in advertising, communications, and public service, teaching them by his life's example how to uphold values, especially love of country. Buong buhay niya tinaguyod ni Sec Monjay ang ideyang ang komunikasyon ay isang kasangkapan ng katotohanan, pagbubuklod at pakikinig. Mahalagang pundasyon ng ating demokrasya. Sabi niya, truth is the most powerful instrument of persuasion, the antidote to the hate, lies, and anger of social media strategies that exploit big data, micro-targeting, and algorithm bias. It was truly an honor and a privilege to have dared, aspired, and to have risked alongside Sec Monjay. And even if we ended up, to borrow the term, bloodied but unbowed. His passing left many of us heartbroken and in deep grief. I will always remember him as the man who loved and served his country well. He remains loved and respected by those whom he engaged, not only for his formidable talents as a communicator, but also for his integrity, incorruptibility, humility, fairness, and, above all, love of country. He will be missed. We express our sincerest condolences to his daughters Dina and Sasa and his many colleagues and adopted children in advertising, communications, and public service. Na-imagine ko ngayon si Sec Monjay rather, with his wife Abby by his side, looking down from heaven and telling all of us he left behind, it is even more fun in heaven. Paalam, Sec Monjay, at maraming salamat sa iyong sakripisyo at pagmamahal sa bayan. May I request our colleagues to adopt Senate Resolution number 399. Maraming salamat, Mr. Senate President. Maraming salamat at magandang hapon.
Thank you, Mr. President. To co-sponsor the measure, Mr. President, may we recognize Senator Risa Ontiveros.
Senator Ontiveros, recognized.
Mr. President, I join my colleagues, Senators Kiko Pangilinan and Laila Lima, in this resolution honoring the visionary public servant who was Secretary Mon Jimenez. With his brilliant mind, Sec Mon captured the Filipino spirit, our resilience, our levity, our love of family, and commitment to community, and shared it with the world. His wit was also inimitable. Actually po, kanina umaga, dito sa ating bayan, Filipino time, o sabi nila mas tamang Spanish time, naaalala ko si Sec Mon. At yung isang quote nila na, the worst form of corruption is stealing people's time. May kasama sila Bayan Party. Remember him as someone who listened to all voices around the table and who ensured diversity and inclusiveness in public service. And I will always remember him as someone who, even in the often rough and tumble world of Philippine governance, was always unfailingly kind. Paalam, Sec Mon, it is certainly less for the Philippines without you. Salamat po, Mr. President.
Go to the leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe Senator Sonny Angara would also like to be recognized, Mr. President.
Senator
I-
Ontiveros, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Majority Leader, I would just like to commend Senator Kiko and Senator Risa for filing this, and if they would accept me as their co-author, co-sponsor.
Most certainly, Mr. President.
And
Mr. President, with the permission of the body or the authors rather, the sponsors, may we make all members of the Senate
several occasions.
sponsors and co-authors. Mr. President.
And it's very rare that you have a person. Can you hear, Sen Migs? Can you hear me? Can you
Yes,
hear,
yes,
Sen
go
Migs?
ahead, Senator Angara. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Well, going back to si Secmon, it's rare that a person's brilliance is matched by his modesty and his kindness. So I think that's the case in Secretary Mon, and he presided, I think, in his 5 years at tourism over a massive rise in domestic tourism. I think from a few million, it reached almost 100 million, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to double check those figures, but it's a shame we weren't able to build the international infrastructure to take advantage of his marketing wizardry, Mr. President. No, but he was a very kind man, and to the very comprehensive tribute of Senator Kiko, and Senator Risa, I'd like to add, he also loved his dogs. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'll once again reiterate my request with these sponsors. If all members of the Senate could be made co-sponsor and co-author of the measure, Mr. President.
Right, if there are no objections from the sponsors.
No objection, no objection.
Mr. President, can we recognize Senator Pangilinan once again, Mr. President?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. Just a slight correction before we adopt the resolution. The middle initial of Monjay, Secretary Monjay, is R rather than A. R as in Romeo rather than A. Just a slight correction. Thank you, Mr. President.
We place that on record.
Thank you, Mr. President. With that amendment, Mr. President, I move that we adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 399, taking into consideration Senate number Resolution number 402, subject to style, Mr. President.
All right, any objection? Hearing none. Senate Resolution 399 taken into consideration. Senate 402 is hereby adopted, subject to style.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, also another change of referral really quickly. Upon conferring with the chairman of the Committee on Higher Education with the consent of the body, I move that Senate Bill number 41751. Oh, no, Mr. President, my apologies. We've already done it. Mr. President, may we recognize the distinguished gentleman from Zambales, our Blue Ribbon Chair, Senator Richard Dick Gordon, to deliver a privileged speech, Mr. President.
Senator Richard Gordon, gentleman from Palace and Red Cross is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, good afternoon. I rise once again to speak in behalf of a victim of riding in tandem once again. I have done this several times in the past, Mr. President, when people are killed, from judges to policemen to women who have been killed. There have been numerous instances when I've risen because what is happening, Mr. President, is something worse than COVID. Riding in tandem in the last year alone in 2019 killed more than COVID today. I believe it killed 1,234 last year. So COVID has killed so far a little over 700 this year. So more people have been killed by riding in tandem last year than COVID has done this year. Now, Mr. President, to be very frank, we each time somebody is killed and we don't speak and we don't do anything about it and nothing is done by the government, it just emboldens these criminals to perpetrate their ill will upon our people. In this latest incident involving a certain Pepino, I believe his first name is Cornelio Pepino. He's a radio journalist in Dumaguete, and he's the third one to be killed in the last several years, but the first one to be killed this year. He stood strongly on issues involving illegal mining, poor governance, and graft and corruption. Mr. President, this person was shot with his wife. Fortunately, his wife escaped unhurt, and now his two children are orphaned, Mr. President. We cannot forever just shrug our shoulders and say nothing can be done, Mr. President. So many people have been killed. Just a few months ago, we remember Attorney Santos of the Bureau of Prisons who was killed while fetching his child in school near Muntinlupa, along with so many other people from Muntinlupa who have been killed by riding in tandem, Your Honor. And therefore, Mr. President, we can see that also a judge was recently killed, Judge Mario Anacleto M. Banyas, a presiding judge of Regional Trial Court Branch 25 in Tagudin, Ilocos Sur, who was driving his Hyundai Accent on his way home when two motorcycle riding men fired shots at him in Barangay Mameltak, San Fernando City on November 5, 2019. Mr. President, we cannot tolerate this forever, especially in the light of the fact that it's beginning to really make us look very, very weak as a government. Remember, Mr. President, we passed a bill, a law, the Motorcycle Act, Mr. President, the Crime Prevention Act, entitled authored and sponsored by yours truly, and was signed into law last March 8, 2019. That's more than a year ago, Mr. President. And yet, up to now, there is no whimper from the Department of Transportation, particularly Land Transportation Authority, and there has been no orders to come out with bigger plates for these motorcycles. Walang kalaban-laban ang tao. Pinapatay ang mga tao, wala tayong testigo, and we are happy. It shows that we in Congress have become totally ineffective. Hindi na sinusunod yung batas natin. The other day, we agreed to have a resolution on the closure, on asking the NTC to pull out its decision regarding ABS-CBN. Mr. President, this is how many journalists have been killed in this country. We're number 5 in the world, Mr. President, on journalists being killed in the country. Not to mention the other people who have been killed in this country by the thousands every year, Mr. President. When are we going to wake up Shall it be when one of us is killed here in the Senate? I hope not. It will be too late. And so, Mr. President, it is important that we enforce the law. Under the law, Mr. President, Article 2 of the Civil Code, it's very clear that law shall take effect after 15 days following the completion of their publication, either in the official gazette or a newspaper of general circulation in the Philippines, unless it is otherwise provided. Mr. President, it's over a year now, over a year, and 14 months to be exact, that nothing has been done by LTO. Mr. President, if this goes on, there's not even an implementing rules and regulations, then we may as well shut the doors of the Senate, shut the doors of Congress, because if the executive does not enforce laws, that is a violation of the Constitution. That is clear, unacceptable, poor enforcement of law. There is no enforcement of law. Yan ang lumalabas, Mr. President. So I'm shocked, I'm chagrined, beyond imagination, Mr. President. I mean, when are we going to put a stop to all this, Mr. President? That's why I rise once again. I don't want to rise all the time, but it's just that I cannot countenance the fact that people are killed, people are orphaned, in front of their families, they're killed, in broad daylight, riding in motorcycles. How many people have been put to jail? Hardly any, Mr. President. Hardly any. And if we say the PNP is doing its job, it is not doing its job when it comes to riding in tandem. Absolutely not. And LTO is not doing its job. And we as a people cannot just grin and bear it, Mr. President. It is important, therefore, that we send a very strong signal today to the PNP, to the NBI, and all law enforcement authorities that this, I would say, this pandemic of killings, there's a pandemic of motorcycle riding in tandem killings that has killed so many people, harmed so many people. I have some statistics here, Mr. President. I'm delivering this, example, in 2019, 1,234 were killed, 742 were wounded, 1,866 were hurt. What about 1918, 1917, 1916? It goes back several administrations, not just this administration, the administration of President Aquino, the previous administration of Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo. Way back, it seems that that nothing can stop this juggernaut of people being killed by people riding in tandem. It's now time to act, Mr. President, and to ask the LTO. If they do not accept it, then we should ask for the resignation of all these people involved, because if they cannot implement a simple law like that, then we really are in trouble. And if the PNP cannot act, we should ask also for the resignation of the general. He's a friend of mine, but if he cannot act, he cannot tell his people to move and get people to act on these killings, then what do we have a police force? In the Constitution, they are there to protect the people. Nakalagay dyan, to protect and preserve, to serve and protect, Mr. President. We're not protecting our people. We're not serving them. We're just saying, oh, well, another killing, shrug our shoulders. Don't worry, it will be forgotten. We cannot accept that anymore, Mr. President. Something must be done. And I hope this Senate will finally get the gumption to rise and call them in the Committee on Peace and Order, and I am prepared to do this, the Committee on Blue Ribbon, to investigate why it's not been done. And if necessary, we should start, getting back at creating another agency that can do it better than some of these people. I do not want to pick a fight with anybody. I just want to say, if we cannot do it, let somebody else do it. Step aside. If you're in the way of doing things, step aside. And let's stop the killings, Mr. President. Mr. President, that's my plea today, and I hope that the Senate will listen, and I hope that something can finally be done for all the orphans and all the victims of riding in tandem. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Senator Lacson is recognized.
Just a point of clarification, Mr. President. I'm not so sure about this. That's why I'm seeking clarification. And with all due respect to our distinguished colleague, Senator Gordon, my understanding is that we will only allow members to deliver a privileged speech when he's on the floor. So if we have changed that rule, I have no problem, Mr. President. I'm just seeking clarification.
Well, the word privileges.
You During the first meeting we had concerning the teleconferencing, there was a suggestion or some kind of a request that if you want to deliver a speech, the privilege speech, you deliver it here. But earlier, when Senator Gordon, when the majority leader asked asked the presiding officer to allow Senator Gordon for privilege speech, I asked if there's any objection. There was no objection on the floor. That's why we allowed it.
I was tempted to object, Mr. President, but ayoko maging killjoy, so I did not rise to register my objection. Having said that, Mr. President, it's just a clarification.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Mr.
Yes,
President.
we'll have the chairman of the Committee on Rules finalize if ever we really do want that.
Mr. President, that was really just an internal arrangement between our colleagues when we decided to go on teleconferencing, but it's not written in our rules, although it could just be an internal arrangement. Maybe on a case-to-case basis, Mr. President, because if our more vulnerable members, I don't know how to put this, no, would like to deliver their privileged speeches at home, I think they should be allowed to, Mr. President.
I think the reason that we discussed that before is that in case there will be interpellations, it's and the interpellator is in the floor. Medyo mes
Mr. President, we have interpellations on perjury. We have interpellations on other subjects. I don't think there's any reason why this is virtual hearings, why we cannot have the interpellations, and I'm ready to answer any interpellation, Mr. President.
all right. Just in case there is. So majority.
Yes,
Mr. President, I move that we, Senator Angara would like to be recognized, Mr. President.
Senator Angara is recognized.
Mr. President, in case we're going to draw a distinction between a sponsorship speech and a privilege speech, what is the rationale for the distinction? And you'll allow someone to deliver a sponsorship speech even if he's at home and teleconferencing, but we won't allow a colleague who wants to give a privilege speech, which in theory is something so pressing that like the matter of Senator Gordon, it impels him because it means so much to him that he wants to deliver a speech. I'm just wondering, just curious, perhaps the more senior senators could enlighten us.
Well, the thinking when we were discussing it, if I recall it right, the thinking is that, as you mentioned, pressing, then all the more you should be here and deliver it here in the House of the Senate. That was the thinking. So because we feel that when it is a sponsorship speech, it has a bigger, more weight than just a sponsorship speech. The thinking was something like that, but it's up to you. It's up to the majority. We can always come up with a motion to that effect. There is none at the moment. At the moment, the agreement was a request.
Thank you, Mr. President.
The dialogue was if possible, and ayaw, di wag.
Yes, Mr. President. I think the request of some of our colleagues who want to have privileged speeches and to be done on the floor was more of a request, more persuasive in nature, but not really a rule. And I believe there are certain members who really could want to deliver privileged speeches, but also want to prevent catching the virus. The reason why we're doing teleconferencing at this particular point in time. Mr. President, I believe Senator Villar would like to be recognized, Mr. President.
Yeah, all right. Senator Villar before Senator Lacson.
Madam Cynthia, your volume, please, your mute.
To move that we allow our colleagues to deliver speech at home.
All right.
Privileges.
Problem with that. There are some, in this case, myself, it's more dramatic to deliver a privilege speech dito pagdidiba at kompleto ang presence ng Senado. But there are those who would like to deliver it sitting down in your house. It's okay. No problem with that. I don't see any problem. Senator Lacson, you were seeking the floor.
Yes, Mr. President, and since a precedent has been set, and in fairness to the other members who would likewise deliver speech in their homes, then I suggest that we allow it, Mr. President.
All right. All right then. Thank you, Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. With that, I move that the speech of the distinguished gentleman from Zambales be referred to the Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, Mr. President, so it can be heard.
Heard.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, Senator Joel Villanueva would just like to put on record that he also has a co-sponsorship speech on the death of the distinguished Secretary of Tourism, Secretary Jimenez. That he will just place this on the record or submit this to the Secretary.
Insert the speech into the record.
Mr.
All right.
President, may we recognize Senator Gordon, Mr. President?
Senator Gordon's raising his hand. Go ahead.
This is not just a repost, but whether or not you do it at home, the nature of a privileged speech, just as Senator Angara and Senator Zubiri intimated, is that it is of a pressing matter. Now, if we had been told earlier that we must do it in the halls of Congress, that it is more dramatic, I would have done it there. But these are strange times, abnormal times to be sure. And we agreed to have these electronic sessions of the Senate. It doesn't mean that our powers to speak are curtailed, that the privileged speech will be curtailed, especially if there are some dastardly acts being performed in our country. For example, Mr. President, I would love to be in the
Hello. I don't know if you're finished with what you're saying, but anyway, there is no curtailment. It was merely a request. And now the motion is that to allow it. So I think you're under the bridge at this point. Majority Leader?
the word. The
Oh,
word is privileged speech, Mr. President. Nawala ba? Are we back?
Yeah, you're go ahead.
With apologies, Mr. President, I just said that the very fact that it is called a privileged speech means that any senator has the privilege, especially when something abhorrent, something has happened that is dramatic, or something that requires something to be done right away, or something that impugns his honor. He can do it so long as there is an agreement that the Senate is in session. He can do it even if he's lying down, taking a shower, or making sure that he can deliver his points across. I have nothing against what Senator Lacson said. He's just trying to make sure that we're doing it right. And I agree with him. If you want to do it right, let's do it right. But let us give us the right signals so that we could do the same. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was worried that we curtailed him from saying what he wanted to say when he lost his feed, when we lost his voice, his mic,
His audio.
his audio. Technical difficulties po yan. We'd like to put on record. That was technical difficulties and there was no part of the Senate to curtail him to express what he wanted to say. Mr. President, just an additional matter. Earlier we moved...
Leader, on the same topic, may I?
Oh, yes, I think, may we recognize Senator Pia Cayetano, Mr. President?
Senator Pia Cayetano is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, colleagues, in line with that same topic, I just want to share what I also learned today in our hearing on futures thinking. One of our resource persons, they are future thinkers, no? They are a team of academicians who are experts in futures thinking, and they developed this app which has it is a circle, and then it identifies different parts of our life. It could be anything from construction, wellness and health, farming, anything, any topic under the sun. And one of the areas there identified was indoor life. So I asked them to click on it and to explain it to us. And it was basically saying that indoor life has hit a high level now. In the past, they thought that indoor life will peak in the year 2029. But this COVID has accelerated that. So today, we are already experiencing so much of what we used to do outdoors, indoor. And so I answer that in the same way that we talk about, where is the best place to deliver privileged speech, and no one will, I don't think any of us, I think all of us miss, the ambiance and the environment that the Senate brings. However, we are in the interest of staying safe. Then a lot of these things we have to do in house, in home. minus the glamour, minus the impact of being in the halls of the Senate. But I just wanted to share that because it is a reality, and these are little things that I'm learning because of the futures thinking that I am now exposing myself to. Just wanted to share that with everyone. Thank you.
All right. Senate, the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, to add to the motion earlier for transfer of referral from SB number 1487751 and 41. Mr. President, upon conferring with the chairman of the Committee on Higher Education and with the consent of the body, I move that Senate Bills number 141751 and 1487 be considered in the committee report number 86 on Senate Bill number 1520. Apparently, there's already a committee report, Mr. President, about to be taken up in plenary. So these three, the authors of these three measures would like their measures to be considered as well. I so move, Mr. President.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none. Motion is approved.
Yes, just to repeat, Senate Bill number 41751 and 1487. I think I made a mistake. The first bill. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we do not have, for sponsorship, we have two bills. Unfortunately, the sponsor of the measure is in an emergency, Mr. President, so he can't join us today to sponsor the measure. So
Which bill is this?
the bills of Senator Villanueva, Mr. President.
Senate Bill 1520.
Yes, this is the Senate Bill number 1216 and Senate Bill number 1520, Mr. President.
Well, I was ready to sponsor 1520, but if you want to postpone it.
Because the sponsor of the committee, Mr. President, but if with the permission of the sponsor, you can start the sponsorship of the measure, Mr. President. If we just allow.
If, it's better if you ask the permission of the
Yes.
chairman of the committee.
Or possibly, Mr. President, since we have a caucus anyway, we can do this tomorrow, first thing in our agenda, Mr. President. So with that, Mr. President, just a reminder to all our colleagues, we have a caucus after this. We're going to try our new caucus setup. I believe the provider will give us a new, or email to us or to our staff, the new meeting room, link for the new meeting room for our caucus, Mr. President. And I encourage everyone to participate in the caucus as we'll be discussing some points raised by the modified enhanced quarantine, community quarantine, as well as priority measures that they had requested us to take up. And so that we can also discuss the next steps on the priority measures or the list of the priority measures for the next steps that will take the next 3 to 4 weeks before June 3, Mr. President.
All right. Then what we need to do is that each one of us will have to leave this meeting. We have to leave this meeting once it is adjourned so that we can be sent the connection for the caucus.
Yes, Mr. President.
Caucus meeting will not be on live streaming.
Mr. President, we don't have the link yet, no? I don't have the link yet.
Yes, no, not yet. We will be. They will send us the link in a short while.
Thank you.
May we recognize Senator Angara.
Senator Lacson and Senator Tolentino and I will be enjoying your company while we enjoy the food of Senator Nancy Binay. All right, so Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President. With that, I move to suspend session until 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, May 13, 2020. I so move, Mr. President.
All right, with a reminder that each one leave this particular meeting. Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the session is suspended until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of tomorrow, May 13, 2020.
Thank you, Mr. President.